During a recent familial repast, my father inquired whether my monthly stipend was sufficient. Upon my bewildered response, "What allotment?" a stark pallor instantly suffused his countenance. The shocking revelation was this: my mother had been clandestinely diverting the $2,000 he had been earmarking for my living expenses. This substantial sum was instead being forwarded to my preternaturally favored sister for lavish expenditures and upscale shopping sprees in the French capital, Paris, while I, concurrently, toiled unrelentingly to the point of sheer physical collapse from overexertion. I am Logan, a 19-year-old novice navigating the rigorous curriculum of medical studies in the sprawling metropolis of New York City. My roots lie in Texas. Specifically, my parents reside in Dallas, where my father holds a distinguished position as a surgeon at a major university medical center, and my mother manages the domestic sphere. Following my graduation from secondary education, I relocated to New York approximately 4 months prior to establish an independent life. I applied myself assiduously and secured acceptance into medical school that July, a path motivated by my father's career. However, I have been precluded from experiencing the quintessential collegiate lifestyle. My aspirations included cultivating friendships, participating in various organizations, and engaging in leisure activities, yet a persistent financial strain has been my chief obstacle. My parents cover the substantial cost of my tuition fees, but the onus of all other pecuniary obligations falls solely upon me. In addition to my academic obligations, I have undertaken various forms of employment, including private instruction, tutoring, event management assistance, staffing, and bartending. Despite juggling these numerous vocations, it has proven exceedingly difficult to substantiate my monthly finances, covering both rental fees and general subsistence expenses. I frequently rotate between these positions to accommodate my demanding timetable, often concentrating my work efforts on the weekends. This relentless schedule has been deleterious to my well-being, both psychologically and physiologically. I find myself fatigued during lectures, and my late returns home leave me deprived of the necessary vigor to dedicate time to my coursework. A looming apprehension is that I may need to repeat the academic year due to falling grievously behind. Should this situation persist unabated, my capacity to concentrate on my studies, which ought to be my foremost concern, will be severely compromised. Overcome by anxiety and a sense of desperation, I reached out to my mother, pleading for even a minimal contribution of monetary aid. My father's profession necessitates his frequent absence, rendering him seldom available at home, therefore my mother supervises all household fiscal matters. Despite my father's lucrative earnings, my mother asserted that they possessed no additional reserves, claiming the payment of my tuition was already an arduous undertaking, thus precluding them from dispatching further funds. This response left me feeling paralyzed and without recourse. Reflecting on my upbringing, a distinct divergence in treatment between myself and my sister, Olivia, had always been palpable. She is now 21, pursuing haute couture design at a highly regarded academy in Paris. While I was consistently held to a demanding standard of diligence and expected to merit my accomplishments, success seemed to materialize effortlessly for Olivia. My mother invariably referred to her as the cherished sibling, the one possessing a singular talent, the one predestined for monumental achievements. The glaring disparity in our treatment was simply impossible to disregard. I can vividly recall an instance from our youth. I returned home brandishing a report card replete with only top marks. My mother gave it a cursory glance, stating, "That is precisely what we anticipate from you, Logan." The very same day, Olivia presented a report with a preponderance of B's and a few C's, yet my mother organized a minor celebration for her, eulogizing her artistic sensibility and excusing her academic performance. I am formulating a strategy to maximize my monetary gain by securing as many temporary positions as feasible throughout the protracted hiatus of summer recess. Post-summer, my intention is to reprioritize my studies, which will entail diminishing my work commitments. Consequently, I must accumulate even greater savings, which necessitates stringent curtailment of my daily subsistence expenditures. For my diet, I will economize by consuming instantaneous noodle packets, baked goods, and reduced-price, prepackaged provisions. Having been nurtured within an affluent household, I had never before been compelled to concern myself with finances. I was utterly unprepared for the level of destitution I would encounter upon relocating. I also periodically inspected my sister's presence on Instagram. Her photo stream was a parade of images from chic Parisian coffee houses, exclusive fashion presentations, and weekend excursions to destinations such as Monaco and Milan. One post, in particular, proved exceptionally galling. It showed Olivia at a rooftop gala overlooking the Eiffel Tower, adorned in what she had labeled as a new Dior ensemble. The accompanying inscription declared, "Mother unfailingly discerns precisely what I require." I contemplated that image for an extended duration, perplexed as to how my parents could finance such high-end apparel for her whilst simultaneously professing to have no disposable income for me. Following a particularly frenzied Friday at the bar, a serious incident soon transpired. I swooned during my assigned duty period. A wave of vertigo washed over me, and the platter of mixed drinks in my hands suddenly felt insurmountably burdensome. I regained consciousness within a medical facility. The attending physician informed me that my syncope was a direct consequence of profound exhaustion coupled with inadequate nourishment. My employer recounted that after my faint, he had repeatedly called my appellation, but I was too unresponsive to reply, prompting him to immediately summon emergency services. He had also reached out to my parents. My manager's mandate that I recuperate for the remainder of the month, however, signified a detrimental reduction in my anticipated earnings. Upon examining my mobile device, I found a missed communication from my friend who later came to my apartment, purchased provisions, and prepared a meal for me. When I disclosed my lack of parental subvention, my friend expressed utter astonishment. Why are you not obtaining any funds? You have a sister residing in Paris. How is she financing her overseas education if their pecuniary situation is so precarious? I ceased speaking, contemplating this conundrum for the initial occasion. I began to systematically evaluate the entire situation. My father is a doctor, our dwelling is in an exclusive enclave, and I attended private academies. Why, then, would my mother abruptly declare a total absence of funds for me, when Olivia appears to be emulating a European noble in Paris? Something was fundamentally inconsistent. That evening, my inquisitiveness superseded my better judgment. I placed a direct telephone call to Olivia. I am curious, how are you managing financially over there? Paris must be exorbitantly priced. I seldom concern myself with those trivialities. Mother remits roughly $3,000 each month for my outgoings, plus supplementary sums whenever I desire something extraordinary. The realization hit me with the force of a physical blow. $3,000 a month. In stark contrast, I had been informed that not a single spare dollar was available for my needs. The festive period arrived, and I secured the most economical flight available for my return journey home. My father appeared taken aback by my appearance, observing perceptively, "You have shed a substantial amount of weight, Logan." During our midday meal, his face was etched with concern, and he queried, "Are you ingesting adequate sustenance?" I divulged the truth, mostly instantaneous ramen, simple bread, and occasionally prepackaged meals procured at a discount. My father looked thoroughly bewildered. "Is the money I've been remitting not sufficient for your needs?" I was confounded and replied, "I have not received any monetary transfers." My father was absolutely aghast. "What is occurring? Paisley, have you been sending the money to Logan as you were enjoined?" Mom gazed downwards, refraining from speech. Finally, Mom spoke softly, "I did not transfer any money to Logan. I have been retaining the funds for Olivia." I was thunderstruck. "What do you mean, for Olivia?" "She requires it more than you do," Mom persisted coolly. "She is undertaking her fashion degree in Paris. She must project the appropriate image. I solicited for some money, even a pittance, but you claimed you could not afford it while you were transferring Olivia $3,000 monthly. How dare you conceal this from me?" Dad whirled toward Mom, his voice escalating in volume. "You have been deliberately withholding Logan's allotment, allowing him to endure hardship to the verge of collapse, while surreptitiously dispatching additional capital to Olivia for indulgent shopping excursions in Paris?" Mom protested, "Olivia possesses genuine potential. She necessitates support. And Logan lacks potential?" Dad's voice was fraught with incredulity. "He is studying medicine. He will succeed regardless. Olivia is unique. She is fragile. $3,000 per month for general sustenance," Mom revealed, her voice now subdued. "And perhaps an additional $2,000 or $3,000 in certain months for professional networking events. So, you have been diverting $5,000 or $6,000 monthly to Olivia while Logan has been depriving himself of food and laboring to the brink of collapse?" Dad concluded, his voice rigid with incandescent rage. "No," Dad said with absolute finality. "What she demands is a firm grounding in reality. And so do you. Paisley, effective immediately, I shall assume full responsibility for all financial management. It stops without delay." The remainder of the lunch was permeated with tension. I retreated to the sanctuary of my bedroom, overwhelmed by the totality of the events that had unfolded, recapitulating all the years of insidious favoritism. Later that evening, Dad seated himself ponderously on the edge of my mattress. "I want you to be cognizant of my profound regret," he stated. "I should have been more intricately involved in the monetary oversight." He informed me that Olivia's remittance was being drastically reduced to $1,000 per month, the identical sum I would be receiving forthwith. He paused momentarily. "There is another detail you must be informed of. Your mother has been misappropriating resources from our family endowment, funds that were intended to be equitably apportioned between the two of you, to establish a segregated account in Olivia's designation. Approximately $300,000 thus far." I was incapable of fully grasping the sheer magnitude of that figure. "I have imposed a freeze on that account and initiated the requisite legal procedure to reintegrate those monies into the primary family trust," Dad continued. "Henceforth, I am going to be significantly more engaged in both your lives, and I am going to guarantee that equity prevails between you two." Olivia telephoned me late that night in a state of high dudgeon. "What exactly did you convey to father?" she impatiently demanded. "The unvarnished truth," I responded succinctly. "The truth that I have been juggling multiple occupations and am still barely able to purchase sustenance, whilst you have been receiving a monthly stipend amounting to thousands of dollars." "Did that truly occur?" she asked, her voice subdued. "Yes, Olivia, that is precisely what transpired. While you were acquiring high-end Chanel accessories, I was laboring for 60 hours per week on top of my medical studies and subsisting on instantaneous noodle cups." When she lamented about her new reduced sum, I said, "Embrace the realities of the genuine world. Secure gainful employment, just as I did." She abruptly severed the connection. By the subsequent morning, the palpable friction within the household had reached a peak intensity. "Your mother and I are experiencing marital difficulties," Dad announced. "This entire monetary situation has illuminated certain deep-seated problems. Your mother's preferential treatment of Olivia has been ongoing for years, and I allowed it to continue." He confessed, "I am uncertain if our matrimony can recover from this breach. The foundation of trust has been shattered." He later initiated divorce proceedings when Mom persisted in attempting to clandestinely send Olivia supplementary money. The inaugural action I took upon my return to my apartment was to purchase provisions, authentic groceries, foodstuffs I had been incapable of procuring for months. With the alleviation of monetary duress, I was able to curtail my working hours. Suddenly, I possessed ample temporal resources to study, to sleep, and to attend to my personal welfare. My scholastic performance showed immediate signs of improvement. Dad vacated the family residence and established himself in a nearby apartment. Olivia, confronted with her drastically curtailed budget, surprisingly rose to the occasion. She secured a part-time role at a small Parisian fashion house and commenced operating strictly within her reduced financial parameters, confessing that she rather enjoys the feeling of earning her own keep. Mom experienced the greatest difficulty in acclimating and had to downsize her residence and initiated part-time employment, her first job in over 2 decades. A year subsequently, my progress in medical school is excellent. Dad journeys to New York to visit me every few months, and our bond has intensified. Olivia has undergone the most remarkable metamorphosis, having wholeheartedly embraced her autonomy. She is now conceptualizing her own limited edition collection and has mastered the skill of creating aesthetically pleasing pieces on a constrained budget. She and I now maintain regular communication and have an authentic rapport. Constraints foster inventiveness, she admitted. But I believe I prefer the person I am becoming now. In the 2 years since that pivotal holiday meal, our family has been entirely restructured. The adjustments have not all been seamless, but I am convinced they were indispensable. Dad is more content and a more involved father. Olivia has unlocked her own inherent resilience and creative genius. I have established my foothold in medical school and am flourishing. 3 years later, I am in my 4th academic year, ranked among the top performers, and actively preparing for residency interviews. Dad has been my unwavering pillar of strength. Olivia astonished everyone by unveiling her debut independent fashion collection in Paris, successfully attaining success on her own conditions. Mom is now undergoing therapeutic counseling and admitted she was profoundly mistaken. She is slowly learning to perceive both her children with clarity. The most unexpected turn of events transpired 6 months ago when Dad became acquainted with Catherine, a pediatric nurse at his hospital, and is intending to propose. This forthcoming Christmas will mark our inaugural festive gathering with all parties present. The physical collapse that served as the initial catalyst ultimately became the springboard for profound healing.